magic curse. A cruel and devious magician placed a spell on the king, and the spell was this: the king would fall in love with the first woman he met. He'd fall in love with the first woman he met. Let's examine the magician's motives in this matter. The king didn't rate magic, and the magician was poor and starving, with no arse in his pants. I am going to die. A magic spell would show the king how invaluable deviousness and magic could be, especially in difficult times. A magic spell on the king. The king would fall in love with the first woman he met. By chance, that very day, a princess arrived in the kingdom to learn courtly manners from the king's wife, the queen. The king spotted the princess, smelled her caramel scent, and his brain immediately turned to mush. "Who is that beautiful girl?" whined the king. The king was gone. A complete eejit. In fact, no spell had been placed on the king at all, because there is no such thing as magic. Everyone knows that. The king had fallen for the princess because his brain had already turned to mush, melted by the male menopause. The king thought of the princess all the time, when he woke up and when he tried to go to sleep, under the stars and under the moon. When the princess was missing, it was like the sun did not shine. When the princess appeared, the king ran away, because even a glimpse of her would feed his painful obsession for days. The king hated himself, and he felt ashamed. He was full of shit. The king's head was going to split open, and so he made the mistake of telling the princess what he felt for her.
I find you incredibly attractive,
whined the king. The princess laughed and laughed like she was cool with it all. She said she was flattered, but in fact she hated the king for what he'd said. She hated his guts. The queen noticed that something was wrong, and she consulted with the magician. "What is the matter with my husband, the king?" "Oh, don't worry, dear queen. The king is under a lot of pressure. It has nothing to do with me." The queen was not so sure. Eventually, one day, the king spoke to the princess.
I love you,
he confessed. If you love me, you'll leave everything. Your wealth, your kingdom, your queen. And you will live with me in the dark forest. If you love me. Kings are used to getting what they want, and this king knew the princess had outwitted him. He was furious with himself, and ashamed, and destroyed.
But I love you,
whined the king.
I love you.
So this is what has happened to you, roared the queen. The queen had sneaked up on the little scene. Someone may have tipped her off. Don't look at me. The queen banished the king forever. He was sent up into the hills to unravel the mess inside his skull. The king soon died in the snow, and nobody mourned him. The queen hooked up with the magician, who taught her lots of new tricks in bed. The magician soon became the new king, as happy as a pig in shit. Sometimes there obviously is a place for deviousness and magic in the world. Let this be a warning to all kings. Do not fall in love with young and beautiful princesses. You will not survive the process.